Hi, and welcome back for another episode of the Blitz Online Edition. I'm Josh, with me is Fong and Colin. We're here after probably the most surreal weekend of football in recent memory. There were no Friday night lights except for lightning, and all of the games that we had this weekend got pushed to the next day, especially Troy's, where they ended up playing at the junior high field.
They ended up playing at the junior high field, and I guarantee it was not a popular decision for a whole lot of people.
Yeah, you can read last Wednesday's paper to find out just what the community thought of that. But in the end, we learned a little bit about Troy. They faced a tough test in Xenia, and it was a kind of a slugfest of a game, and they edged it out.
You know, tough conditions, tough situation, playing against a tough Xenia team. I think Troy really did show a lot about what they were made out of. The fact that they were able to come out and in those adverse circumstances, and obviously Xenia was facing the same adverse circumstances, but the fact that they were able to come out and still play well, I think shows a lot about the mental makeup of this team for sure.
Then we also had our game of the week, Tippecanoe hosting Milton Union, a battle of undefeated teams at Tip City Park, pushed to Saturday, and the first half, neither team really showed up. Milton Union had a couple of scoring chances, but I've got a question for the two of you. Here's a situation now. 4th and 2 from about the 5-yard line. You've got a shot at a field goal. The other team calls timeout to ice your kicker. What do you do? Coming out of the timeout, Milton Union went for the first down and did not get it. They did not catch Tip sleeping. What do you think of that call?
I'm not trying to step in anyone's toes here, but I mean, I think you got a pretty good kicker in Nick Fields, and I think you take a shot at the field goal, go with the points in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
I think it showed a lot of faith on Coach Pierce's part on the fact he has a lot of faith in his offensive line. Obviously, they didn't get it that time, but more often than not, against no matter who they're playing, more often than not, Milton Union is going to pick up that first down. I give him credit. He showed some guts. Way to go, Coach Pierce.
Personally, I like gambling, so I would have probably made the same call if I would have even thought of it in the first place.
Especially, I mean, considering you have two pretty good backs, Tyler Brown, he's a bruiser, going up the middle, I think that's also a good call. Either or, I think it's a good situation.
I don't know, but Tip was able to stop it. Their defense really came through for them in that game. They held Milton Union scoreless throughout, and once they got that first score, I mean, it was all over from there. Milton Union was just too exhausted to keep up.
That was the toughest test Tippecanoe is going to face this season. That was the toughest test they're going to face. They're going to roll from here on out.
I think so too.
I think just going off that, I think their defense faced kind of subpar offenses the first couple weeks, and they shut them out, right?
Yep. They have. I don't believe they've given up a point this season.
Yeah, shutting out a good team like Milton is just you're going the right direction.
And next week they've got Indian Lake, which lost to Lehman over the weekend, so a Division 6 team. Yeah. Let's see, what else did we have last week? We had Coach Kevin Finfrock's return with the Bethel Bees to his former school at Covington, and right from the start of that game, Covington ran a reverse on the opening kickoff and took it 99 yards for a touchdown. They led 20-0 by the time Lightning halted the game on Friday night, and they just kept it up on Saturday and won 55-0. I don't really see Covington stopping anytime soon.
I think Covington's in the same situation as Tip. They faced most of their toughest tests and come through. Obviously, still Miami East is still on the schedule. If they can get past Miami East, I think they'll roll. But don't overlook Miami East. That one's good. That one could be for the league title right there.
Yeah, I think there's about 3 or 4 pretty good teams that separated themselves from the pack in the CCC. Covington being one of them, Miami East being the other, and even I'd say Bradford's in the mix there.
Oh yeah, definitely Bradford.
Yeah, and they got that big showdown this weekend. I think could be a good one.
And then we also had we had probably the most important thing for our staff here, Miami East, making good on Colin here's promise or guarantee last week that that they would beat Arcanum. I mean, it was a safe call, but still, and we don't have to have Coach Max Current choke you out for using that guarantee word that all coaches really hate.
It's definitely a big burden off my back. I'm glad I didn't feel the wrath of Max Current.
I'm taking Max Current in that fight.
Yeah. That's a guarantee right there.
That's a guarantee. That's my guarantee. Colin versus Max Current. Max Current wins.
Kids,
guarantee.
Kids were, just in case you missed it last weekend, we're pretty sure you did. Here's the clip.
There's no chance Miami East loses this game. Guaranteeing it.
Just remember, kids, we are not role models. Don't use that guarantee word. Your coaches will not like it. The only talking you should do is with pad and muscle.
That's right.
And like you mentioned just a minute ago, we also had Bradford at National Trail with a matchup of 2-0 teams instead of 0-9 teams as it had been in the past, and Bradford came through that one.
No shock there.
The shock was that they gave up 41 to National Trail, which I think could play a big factor in that Covington-Bradford game this week.
That's true. The defense is going to have to step it up. And
But their offense, 61 points, that's ridiculous. James Cannon, unofficially 55 yards.
Something along those lines.
That's just absurd. Close to 1,000 yards already.
And 9 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's everybody likes to throw around the video game numbers, and that was definitely somebody playing a Madden game that just used the same play over and over again.
Yeah. And I guarantee, we weren't at the game or anything, but I guarantee he was going right through people the entire game.
Guaranteed.
Let's see. We had Pickwood Lima Senior. That wasn't really a surprise.
No.
We had Layman at Indian Lake, which which
one of us got right.
Fong here at the last minute changed his pick on that one.
That's cheating in my book. Cheating in my book.
But if
you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
it led him to a 10-0. Again, we're not role models. Don't listen to Fong.
Exactly.
But that led him to a 10-0 week, and now he's got a commanding lead in our
It's
picks.
not commanding. We're still in contention here.
There's still a long way to go.
Yeah, that's right.
As I proceed on my victory march toward the end of the season.
Are we skipping anyone from last week?
No, I don't think so.
I think we got them all.
Yeah.
Well, then let's move on to this week's segment. We're talking about Troy's Blake Williams, who scored both of the touchdowns in Troy's 14-6 win over Xenia on Saturday. Well, Fong, let's tell us a little bit about Blake Williams.
Blake Williams was a kid who a lot of people talked about at the beginning of the season, whether or not he could live up to his potential, and he's really lived up to his potential. He worked hard in the offseason. Everybody always knew Blake Williams had the talent to be a major player at Troy High School. It was whether or not he was willing to put in the work. Since the end of last season, Blake has not missed an off-season practice, and that's really what's propelled him to the point where he is now, where he really has become the focal point of the Troy offense. There were a lot of names thrown about at the beginning of the season, but he's kind of the one that's emerged, and he's really been the go-to guy for the Trojans. I'm here with Blake Williams, our subject feature in this week's edition of the Online Blitz. Blake, talk about the way the season's gone for you this year.
I've done pretty good this year. Came out with an attitude. I got an idol. I look up to Herschel Walker. I try to run as hard as he can. I'm a power runner. I don't like to juke. I like to get north and south. And I can pretty much do it at all on offense.
That's a little bit unusual for a guy your size. You're certainly not as big as Herschel Walker. You're not the biggest guy, but you run like the biggest guy, don't you?
Yeah, I run hard. I did not miss one day in the weight room, and I thank Mr. Roberts for that. He conditioned us well, and in the off season during camp, Coach Brewer got us well conditioned, and my goal is to help my team.
How do you think you've been doing so far with regard to that? You think you feel like you've helped the team out this year?
Yes. Oh yes. There's been games I haven't scored, and I did well, helped the team out.
Thanks for that report. Now we'll move on to this week's coming games, and Troy remains at home this time, hopefully at their real home stadium, and they're taking on Springfield this weekend.
Springfield, obviously an 0-3 team, but a very good 0-3 team. I guarantee you, if you hear any Troy kids talking about records, they had better be talking about the ones that their grandparents used to play when they wanted to listen to music, because Scott Brewer's hearing none of it. Troy's coach, a very good team. They've suffered 3 tough losses to some very good teams. The key for Springfield this week is whether or not quarterback Chris Wallace is going to play. He's been injured, he's been dinged up, he's missed some time, and a lot of people think that's really the only reason why Springfield has started the season 0-3. He's another dual-threat quarterback. He's another kid who, he can run, he can throw. He makes things real tough for defenses. So it's going to be a challenge for Troy's defense, if he plays, to be able to stop him this week. And that really is the key to the game.
Troy's grinded out their last 2 wins, and I think they'll do it again this week, no matter what the score is. I think Troy's going to get it done.
They've played in 2 close games so far. They dropped the opener on one of the last plays of the game, and then they found a way against Xenia. I think Troy's growing up a little bit. And I think they'll probably. I have them getting through this one also in another battle. And we'll move on to our game of the week. We've got Covington at Bradford, two 3-0 teams. It's been a long time since Bradford could say it was 3-0, but they've been James Cannon's put them on his shoulders and just bowled through everybody.
And I think when you look at this game, you look like Covington. Their defense has allowed one touchdown in 3 games, which is pretty remarkable no matter who you play. Bradford scored 61 points last week. I think they're going to be an offense that's going to be able to put some points up against Covington, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Covington's special teams and defense is just too good. Their offense is too good. I think they'll win the game by about 2 touchdowns.
That sounds about right to me also. I think Covington's just, they're too veteran. That system's been in place for too long. And, that triple option is hard for good defenses to stop. Bradford gave up 41 to National Trail, like you said. I think Covington's going to come away with this one, but it's going to be a lot closer than it has been in years past.
Covington's defense always finds a way. I remember in 2000 when they were playing Williamsburg. Williamsburg had a quarterback named Jason Bainham. He actually set the state rushing record that season. They actually met up with Covington in the playoffs. Covington held him to 61 yards on something like 27 carries or something like that. Covington's defense always finds a way. They've always found a way. They will continue to find a way. And as good as James Cannon is, I think Covington's going to find a way once again.
Such a name dropper, this guy.
He's our historian on this.
Also, we've got Indian Lake at Tippecanoe, and as we said earlier, Indian Lake just got done. It was 21-14 to a Division 6 team. Tip is a little bit different than Lehman. I think this is going to be another 50 to 70 point game for Tip.
I'm sure Jacob Hall is going to go for at least 100 yards, 2 TDs. Cameron Johnson will go for 100 yards. Nick Fisher might even go for that much, and I think Tip just rolls them.
Call the Red Cross. There's going to be a blood leg this week, and it's not going to be a pretty sight. Bring some extra cloth. Sop up that mess.
There's going to be another one of those in Bellbrook. I have a feeling Milton Union is going to Bellbrook to face an old division rival. They switched divisions in the SWBL, and Bellbrook is they're 1-2 this season. They just got done beating Fairborn, but I think Milton is just going to be angry after that Tip game, and I think they're going to take it out on Port Bellbrook.
Milton Union is not going to be in a good mood this week, and I really feel sorry for Bellbrook because I think Milton Union is going to come off a lot of fire and really not have a whole lot of trouble winning this one as well.
Milton Union will get the job done this week. There's no doubt about it. They're going to be fired up, ready to go, and they're going to win big.
And we've also got Miami East going to Mississinewa Valley. Barring any guarantees this time around, well, I think it would be safe again this time.
I'm not going to say it's not going to be a guaranteed win, but it's going to be a lock. Miami's, they're going to get off to a 3-1 or 3-0 start in the CCC, but then we know they have a lot of tough games coming against Covington and Bradford. I think Tri-County North in the next couple weeks, so they're going to get tested in the next couple weeks, but it's not going to be this week.
The schedule maker was not kind to us this week. There are a lot of ugly games on the schedule this week. Count this one in that group. This is another ugly game. Miami's wind's going away.
Miami's offense did have a little bit of trouble against Arcanum last week. They only had 9 first downs, but they still put up 40-plus points thanks to the defense shutting them out, special teams play, and I think this game Miami East is going to work on some things, get that offense going, and build some momentum heading into that meat grinder of a schedule, as Max called it. Then next up, we've got Tri-County North at Bethel. Tri-County North is another one of those 4 teams at the top of the CCC that's a contender. And Bethel, again, like we've been saying, they're going to be good. Kevin Finfrog is going to turn that team around, but just not this season. I think Tri-County North has the edge in this one.
Schedule gods did not do a great job picking the schedule for Bethel this year. They had Bradford, Covington, Tri-County North, who was a defending CCC runner-up, so I don't think Bethel's going to get the win here.
Tri-County North has put up a lot of points this season. I think they'll handle Bethel this week.
Here's another. Here's one of our closer games this week. We have Beaver Creek going to Piqua. This one's kind of an interesting matchup. Piqua's had a couple of good games recently, and Beaver Creek, they're better than they've been in years past. They in the early 2000s they weren't so great, but Coach Scott Clodfelter came in and got them going in the right direction. And they've got a 63-0 shutout over Carroll on their record so far this year. So This one's a tough call, but I think Piqua has been battle tested. They won a tight game. They won a game on the road last week in some adverse conditions. I think Piqua's got what it takes to pull this one off.
I think this game is tailor-made for Bill Nees. Beaver Creek has a lot of the triple option as well. I think Bill Nees and his staff come up with a way. Bill Nees and his staff always seem to come up with a way no matter what offense they're facing. He's the defensive guru around here, and I think he finds a way again this week.
In that game last week, too, Piqua got the passing game going. Justice Young and Tate Honeycutt proved to be a pretty good combination, and I think Piqua will get the job done again this week.
And then finally, we've got Lehman going to Fort Loramie. This was a Metro Buckeye Conference matchup for their league title for a few years, but now that the Metro Buckeye does not exist, Northwest Central Conference, is it?
Yeah.
One way or another, Fort Loramie, they were a playoff team last season, I believe, and I think Lehman is still in that rebuilding process. I think Fort Loramie will come away with this one.
I think Fort Loramie will once again come away with the win, but you got to give Lehman credit for what they did last week, coming back, scoring 2 touchdowns in the last 9 minutes of the game to get the win over Indian Lake. I don't count Lehman out of this game, but
Not so fast, my friend. Not so fast, my friend. I'm going with Fort Loramie now, but like last week, I reserve the right to change my pick to Lehman at the last minute. That's why I'm in first place. It's those last-minute decisions that keep me at the top.
We'll see about how those rights stick around. All right, thank you for joining us on the Blitz Online edition. We'll hopefully see you next week. Until then, this is Josh Brown saying good night.